What's up, everybody? It's Scotty here with Flat Track Flashback, and this is part 2 of our Mission Foods Corey Texter Promotions Winter Throwdown preview. Today, we're going to be looking at 5 different classes. We're going to be looking at Open Novice and Hooligan. We're going to touch on those briefly before diving into more of the big bike amateur classes, your 250 amateur, and then the 450 and Open amateur classes, which have north of 40 riders pre-entered. In fact, Open amateur is just under 50 pre-entries, so an absolutely loaded roster in those classes, and something that with the Mission Foods CTR Flat Track Series and the focus of growing amateur flat track racing, what a way to kick off that series with these loaded entries in these classes. So this will be a super fun one to dive into. Again, we're just focusing, like yesterday, with the youth and the vet classes. Today, we're just focusing on the riders that are pre-entered. So there might be some people who are still to show up but weren't on the entry list that Corey had on the website. So if you didn't pre-enter, I can't talk about you. But maybe we'll see you down there in Callahan this week. And without further ado, let's get things started and touch on the novice class first. All right, it's going to be a couple of quick hitters here. We're going to look at the Open Novice class and the Hooligans. Got a whole lot to talk about with those two classes, but there's a few riders I want to highlight, and then we'll dive into those sort of premier amateur classes here on today's show. Open Novice class has really been a good stomping ground and proving ground for riders who are moving up from an 85 onto a 250. In the past, we've seen Adam Costin and Braxton Reagan claim the overall championship in that class. So what that looks like for me this year is keeping an eye on riders like Ryan Barber, who has been very fast for Southeast Flat Track. Camlin Durrell moving up onto a 250 this year. Jackson Settle, who has been so good on an 85 and now moving up. And I'm also keeping an eye on Eli Block in this class too, Moto America rider, 4th in the Junior Cup last year. So he could be someone that could get a little spicy in this class as well. Over on the Hooligan side, only 12 riders pre-entered. It's kind of a bummer. This Hooligan racing seems to really be falling off over the past few years. There's really only 2 guys to me that stand out in this. That's no disrespect to anybody else, but I look at Sean Raggio, who swept the event, swept Winter Throwdown in 2024. I feel like he's still the favorite coming into 2025. For me, I think his closest challenger is probably going to be Georgie Price. We'll see who else decides to hop on a Hooligan if anybody wants to hop on there down at the event that wasn't on the pre-entry list. But as it stands right now with the Hooligan class, I'm thinking this class is going to go through Sean Raggio. He's just so good in this class everywhere he goes. And I would have to put him as the likely favorite to win down there at Winter Throwdown. Yesterday, we talked about how excited we were for the 65cc class. And today, I really am probably the most excited for the 250 class this year. This is a stacked division. In fact, every division at Winter Throwdown is stacked, but the 250s this year I think are going to be especially enticing. Batting leadoff, you got to look at Braxton Reagan, who swept the event in 2024. He's coming back to defend his grounds, defend his championship at the Winter Throwdown, try to keep that win streak alive in the 250cc class. This kid has been so fast since stepping up on a 250, even dabbled in a 450 at some Southeast Flat Track event at the end of the year in Nice, South Carolina. He did have back-to-back third-place finishes on a 250 at the Panhandle Clash. Generally speaking, Pensacola dirt track, a little bit looser, a little bit more gnarly than what Callahan has given you. But, hey, 2022 Callahan was a wild one. Looking at Braxton, though, he's got to be one of the favorites for the 250 class. The 250 champion in his district, in District 17, one of the most traveled riders in the country. We see Braxton all over the place. So it'll be good to see him down there at Winter Throwdown and looking to stay ahead of the field in the 250 class. He's also going to be competing in the Open Amateur class, where he did make a main event last year on his 250. Braxton's, I think, #1 competition for the 250 class this year is probably going to be a rider who was runner-up to him in the overall points last year, and that's a rider out of California, Ryder Bitsay, who's entering his 3rd year on a 250 at Throwdown. He was 2nd and 4th last year, still trying to get that elusive win on the 250. Another rider who will be contesting in the Open Amateur class. A rider who's really kind of paralleled, career with Braxton is Brody Hansen, who was really strong at the Panhandle Clash, got a 1st and a 2nd He'll be looking to improve upon his throwdown performances from last year, which was a 4th and a 7th. Brody has looked really, really good this offseason. He's gotten plenty of laps down with SDTA races and even contesting with some of the pro classes down there. So having Brody on that 250, it'll be interesting to see how he continues to build on some of the momentum that he gained. Yesterday, we talked about a couple of riders who found success at Lawrenceburg Speedway. Bryson Porter is one of those riders. He was the 250cc and Open Amtrak champion at Lawrenceburg. He'll be in the house. He'll be at Callahan. Bane Nance is back in the 250cc class after a pair of 6th place finishes in 2024. He's going to be wanting to crack the top 5 and maybe even improve more on that. Obviously, everybody wants to chase that win, so we'll see how Bane can improve on his performances from a year ago. Speaking of improving on performances, Charlie Jocks was 5th on day 2 in 2024 at the Winter Throwdown. So he'll be looking to improve and be fighting up there toward the front. Beckham Daniels, younger brother of Dallas Daniels, he was an overall champion at Amateur Nationals in one of the 85 classes last year. And Beckham coming to Winter Throwdown. He's looking to dice it up here in the 250 class, and it'll be fun to see if he can carry on the Daniels legacy. Dallas will be in the house on Thursday, competing in the King of the Throwdown. Younger brother Beckham gonna hold it down for the Daniels family on Friday and Saturday and chase that 250 class victory. And coming off a very strong 2024 Winter Throwdown, coming off a very strong 2024 season, and that's Jed Fife, the rider out of Australia. And we know about Australia bringing the heat every single time they come stateside. Jed was 2nd and 1st in the 85 class last year. He was the 85cc mod and production Amateur Nationals champion. Such a fun rider to watch, and we're going to hear this name a lot. I'm going to be waving the flag for Australia and looking to continue to put it to the Americans here in the amateur racing. We've seen Sam Drain take a lot of wins. We've seen the Page brothers take a lot of wins. Tom Drain took a lot of wins. Hey, flat track racing in Australia is definitely in a good spot, and it's super cool to have them over here competing at the Winter Throwdown. A rider who's coming off of multiple District 6 titles, Megan Grimel, she'll be a factor in the 250 class and also going to compete in the 450 and Open Amateur classes. And then a few other contenders that are going to be on the 250 and then battling in Open Am classes as well. Some of these riders, Camlin Durrell, Jet Katarzi, Jackson Settle. You mentioned Camlin and Jackson are going to be in the novice class. That'll be good extra track time for them. Maybe take a couple of notes in the morning sessions to apply later in the day when they run the 250 in Group 2 racing. Also looking out for Nicholas Proctor and Jordan Sparron, who are regulars at Square Deals Raceway. They'll be down here competing in the amateur classes as well. See how they stack up. All right, now the 450 and the Open Amateur classes. These are riders we haven't quite talked about yet who are going to be on a 250 and also competing in Open Am. These are the kids who are running straight 450s all weekend in the Open Amateur classes and the 450 Amateur, of course. First things first, we got to mention Bodie Page, who was a beast at Amateur Nationals, 3 national championships, has been incredible from the summer on. He's one of these riders who has a very, very bright future in the sport of flat track racing. He's been training with Corey and that group quite a bit. It's going to be really cool to have Bodie in his 2nd year at Winter Throwdown. He really seemed to find his footing over the summer. He was so good in Lima, so good at Amateur Nationals, so good at Hagerstown, coming back stateside and looking to have one of those dominant amateur weekends at Winter Throwdown, the likes that we saw with Chase Sadoff winning pretty much everything in 2021 and Evan Renshaw winning so much in 2023. Well, 2025, there's the odd years here. Could this be the year that Bodie ends up dominating everything? He's going to try, but he's got a whole list of contenders to deal with. Trevor Martin is a rider who was really, really impressive at Amateur Nationals this year. It was actually the first time that I had heard much about him was in following along that weekend with the results. Trevor picked up a couple of really solid finishes, even got a win in the DuQuoin Indoors. He's been a force out of some of these RPM races the back end of 2024. Very excited to have Trevor in the house and mixing it up in the 415 Open Amateur classes. Carson King had a really strong Amateur Nationals, had a strong year at Bike Week after Winter Throwdown in 2024 as well. Also a really good performance recently at those DuQuoin races for RPM there around New Year's. Carson was 5th overall in the 450 amateur class last year. He showed great speed at the Southeast Flat Track Opener at Masters Motorplex last year. Carson, balancing his time between flat track and road racing, but has been a very formidable rider and has really come on strong moving up to the 450 class. Carson's going to be somebody to keep an eye on for victories James Arnay is coming back from California. He'll be back at Winter Throwdown this year. He had a couple of really strong performances and one, maybe less than stellar one, but James was able to pick up a 5th and a 3rd and a 12th in the mains that he made for the amateur classes last year. Solid amateur nationals for James Arnay. He's a regular A-class rider, money class rider out in Lodi, so he's got plenty of laps on there. And at the Springfield Short Track over Labor Day in 2024, he had a little bit of help with the Estenson team and picked up a pair of 2nds and a 3rd at the Springfield Short Track. So a lot of short track laps for James, and I think it paid dividends for him when he comes back to Winter Throwdown for another year. Ethan Rosine is back. He's pre-entered. He had a really, really good 2024 at Winter Throwdown, picked up a 3rd, 4th, and a 5th in the main events that he qualified for. So he'll be somebody to keep an eye on. One of the better finishing, returning riders to this class in 2025 for the Winter Throwdown. So we'll see if Ethan can crack the top step on the day when contesting in these amateur classes. Lane Fussell is going to be coming in for this event. He's been a rider who has looked super good at these SDTA races, 6 open amateur wins and 7 starts for that series. Lane also picked up a couple of really solid performances at Mid-Carolina Speedway over the summer last year. And Lane can be one of those riders who's a little under the radar that could really surprise some people when he comes to Callahan Speedway. So we're excited to see what he's able to accomplish. Again, with SDTA, they did have a race at Callahan in the fall. So Lane's already got some laps on there, and we'll be curious to see how he stacks up now with a much deeper field. Again, the Open Amateur and 450 Amateur classes are absolutely loaded. 43 pre-entries for 450 Amateur, 48 for the Open Amateur. It is going to be a cutthroat class all weekend. These are deep fields, and there's a lot of talent here. And even though I said a lot of guys are probably going to be chasing Bodie Page, hey, it's short track racing. Anything can happen. Panhandle Clash back in December had 3 riders really rise to the top in those amateur classes, and that was Jack Brooks, Cody Michie, and Dylan Durrell. Dylan not too far removed from having a cast taken off his leg. In fact, he ran the last round of the Southeast Flat Track Series. That was his first time back on a bike, and that was middle of November. So to then a month later go down to Panhandle Clash and have such a solid run. Excited to see Dylan up in the front of these amateur classes. Throwdown has not been the best friend to Dylan, and nor for Cody Michie for that matter, as each of them has only racked up, I believe, 1 podium at the event during their time. But very impressive rides down there at Panhandle Clash on a gnarly racetrack that weekend. And that'll definitely prepare him for the cutthroat racing that we talked about comes with the Winter Throwdown event. Now, Jack Brooks, with help from First Impressions Racing, Jack has picked up a win every single year at Winter Throwdown, dating back to 2022 when he got a win in the 65cc class, in 85 in 2023. He also picked up an Open Novice win riding a 250 last year at Winter Throwdown and made one of the Open Amateur main events on the 250. So now Jack stepping up into the 450 ranks and has been an incredibly fun and talented rider to watch coming through the amateur ranks. It'll be exciting to see Jack now full-time on the 450 this year and see how he can factor into the running order with all these other top amateur riders. Jack with 5 wins at Throwdown to his credit. Again, a win every single year dating back to 2022. So 450 amateur, Open Amateur, 2 main events each day. Adam Costin, another rider to keep an eye on in the Open Amateur classes. He's got 3 Throwdown wins to his credit during his time at this event, and is coming off of a 5th place finish during the final Open Amateur main event of 2024. So using that as a benchmark and looking to build on that here into 2025. We talked about Ryan Barber earlier with the Open Novice class. Very fast Southeast Flat Track rider. Had some really fun battles with Braxton Reagan at the Southeast Flat Track finale at Mid-Carolina Speedway. Barber will be an interesting one to watch in these classes. Our guy Jaden Kennedy, he's back for another year, going to get a little bit of help from Andrew Butler. We got to talk to Jaden last year at Winter Throwdown and sort of discuss his career. That was a fun interview to do. If you haven't seen that, it's in our rider profiles playlist here. So it'll be fun to have Jaden back here at Winter Throwdown. Coy Cummins is a rider who's picked up several wins at Lawrenceburg Speedway in 2024. Was really competitive at Hagerstown for Corey's event. Again, Hagerstown, half mile, Winter Throwdown, much tighter confines there in Callahan Speedway, but that's where that experience and those wins at Lawrenceburg could pay dividends for Coy Cummins. And of course, Brianna McHugh, who's picked up a top 5 in all of the Panhandle Clash amateur main events that she contested. She also qualified for both the 450 and the Open Amateur main event on the second day of the Winter Throwdown in 2024. That day show and the night show all on Saturday, a full loaded day of racing there. But Brianna made both main events on the night show, and she had a couple of really strong runs. Again, those top fives at Panhandle Clash, a couple of good runs at Golden Isles, and some SDTA action there. So Brianna will be a fun one to follow. A lot of riders to keep an eye on. Again, I know we're just kind of rapid firing these guys at you, these guys and gals, trying to get a bunch of riders in to focus on. And just so excited for this event, so excited for these premier amateur classes. And man, it's going to be a great time. So we hope to see you down in Callahan, Florida, January 16th through the 18th this weekend. Hope you've made those plans to get down there. If not, Corey Texter Racing, all of those events for the Mission Foods CTR Flat Track Series will be live streamed on Fans Choice. You can get a subscription for $9.99 a month or $54.99 for 6 months. So if you can't make it to Callahan, which we really want you to be there, but if you can't, be sure to subscribe to Fans Choice and watch all the action live with your feet kicked up in a recliner and drinking a couple of cold ones, whether that's beer or Pepsi, or if you come across Surge and you're a 90s kid. Have fun. And we appreciate you guys watching this. Tomorrow we'll dive into some of the pro guys. That should be probably one of our shorter videos of the week, but hey, they're going to be there. They're going to be contesting for some money, so we got to touch on them. Again, thank you for watching, and we hope to see you down in Callahan this weekend.